The Alternative for Germany is a right-wing populist party originally founded in 2013 as a Eurosceptic and economically liberal party. Over time, internal power struggles led to the departure of moderates, shifting the party further to the right. It combines national conservatism and economic liberalism. It's particularly strong in eastern Germany. The AfD wants strict immigration policies, closed borders, remigration of illegal immigrants, mass deportations for criminals, while strengthening the police force and reducing benefits for migrants. Economically, they promote deregulation, tax cuts, reduction of bureaucracy, and a smaller welfare state, along with rejecting climate policies, favoring fossil and nuclear energy, abolishment of CO2 taxes, and restoring Russian gas imports. They also want to reverse the ban on combustion engines, stop Germany's deindustrialization, and stop the expansion of wind energy. Their focus is to strengthen the German economy and lower living and building costs. The party calls for Germany to leave the EU and the Euro, opposes Ukraine joining NATO or the EU, and wants a foreign policy centered solely on German interests. They are also critical towards the WHO, want more data protection for citizens, and are against any form of vaccine mandates. Culturally, it opposes gender ideology, gender policies, and a further spread of Islam's influence in Germany, advocating for traditional family structures and a child-friendly society. The AfD often frame themselves as defenders of free speech, particularly against censorship or cancel culture. Other parties refuse to form coalitions with the AfD, limiting its path to power even in the case of a strong election performance. The Christian Democratic Union, short CDU, and the Christian Social Union, short CSU in German, are center-right parties rooted in Christian democracy, conservatism, and economic liberalism. The CDU operates nationwide except in Bavaria, where the CSU represents similar values. Founded after World War II as a non-denominational Christian party, the CDU distinguished itself from the Catholic-dominated Center Party, which had represented Christian democratic values during the Weimar Republic. Its ideological foundations lie in Catholic social teaching, conservatism, and ordo-liberalism. They have historically been in government more than any other party in Germany. Their economic policy prioritizes a social market economy, reducing bureaucracy, lowering taxes, and supporting businesses and innovation. They advocate for a high-tech economy, digitalization, and AI while opposing wealth and inheritance taxes. They also advocate for fiscal responsibility, criticizing the excessive public spending by other parties. On energy, they support affordable prices, nuclear power, and reversing restrictive heating laws. In immigration, they push for stricter border controls, faster deportations, and a tougher stance on illegal migration while emphasizing integration through language and cultural requirements. Law and order policies focus on harsher punishments, expanded police powers, electronic surveillance, and stricter measures against terrorism, extremism, and organized crime. Their foreign policy supports NATO, a strong EU, close cooperation with France, Poland, and the US, and military aid to Ukraine with plans to reintroduce military conscription and develop European missile defense. Socially, they reject gender self-determination laws, express concerns about foreign influence in religious organizations, and want stricter integration agreements for immigrants. They also aim to roll back cannabis legalization, expand childcare support, and strengthen traditional family policies. Their housing and mobility plans prioritize affordability, maintaining car industry competitiveness, and reversing combustion engine bans. The Free Democratic Party, short FDP in German, is a liberal party positioned in the political center or center-right, rooted in classical liberalism. Founded in 1948, it emerged from the traditions of both left-leaning and nationalist liberal parties of the Weimar Republic. The FDP has been in government for 46 years, always as a junior coalition partner, often earning it the nickname Kingmaker. Its core principles are capitalism, individual freedom, particularly from state interference, and progressiveness. In economic policy, the party supports a socially responsible market economy with minimal government intervention, promoting deregulation, free trade, the creation of jobs, privatization, tax cuts, and reduced subsidies. The FDP aims to strengthen the investment climate by cutting bureaucracy and ensuring work pays more than welfare. Education is a priority, with a push for higher standards and early childhood improvements. Culturally, the party supports artistic diversity and wants culture anchored as a state objective in the constitution. On energy, the FDP supports affordable energy, a strict CO2 cap via emissions trading, and market-driven expansion of renewables. It advocates nuclear fusion without government subsidies. The party champions personal autonomy, defending individual rights against state control, promoting LGBTQ equality, and supporting women's rights, including better protection from violence and workplace fairness. Their approach to immigration aims to align with the needs of the German labor market rather than purely humanitarian considerations while reforming asylum procedures. In foreign policy, the FDP sees the US as Germany's key ally but stresses EU and NATO self-reliance. It advocates for reduced dependence on China, stronger ties with Taiwan, and comprehensive support for Ukraine. While skeptical of military deployments, it favors a strong NATO-aligned army. As the self-proclaimed European Party, the FDP pushes for deeper European integration. The Social Democratic Party of Germany, short SPD, is Germany's oldest existing party and has evolved from a 1875 Socialist Workers' Party into a modern Social Democratic People's Party. Initially rooted in Marxism, in 1959 it broadened its voter base while maintaining a strong focus on social justice, strengthening workers' rights, and a robust welfare state. Solidarity is their biggest core principle. The SPD aims for economic growth through investments in innovation, digital infrastructure, and the labor market to create well-paid jobs. They also plan tax reliefs for families while taxing the rich more, pushing for rent stability and affordable housing. The party wants to reform the education system, provide better funding for schools, and improve opportunities for children from migrant backgrounds. The SPD also wants better working conditions for caregivers, and in energy policy it focuses on electrification, hydrogen technology, and green industry. On emigration, the SPD supports easier German citizenship, accelerated asylum, and semi-open borders, emphasizing diversity as an asset. Internationally, the SPD pushes for a European defense union within NATO, the inclusion of Western Balkan countries, and firm support for Ukraine. It also champions a global billionaire tax to fund social and environmental initiatives, wants to push for global health policies, and is committed to combating climate change. Alliance 90, the Greens, formed in 1993 from the West German Greens Party and the East German Alliance 90. Originally, they were a radical alternative party rooted in the anti-nuclear, environmental, and peace movements. The party focused on ecology, social justice, grassroots democracy, and non-violence. Their economic and social policies were initially influenced by eco-socialists from far-left groups. Internal conflicts between fundamentalists and pragmatists shaped its early years, but it has since adopted a more moderate approach while maintaining a strong focus on environmental policy, feminism, and economic intervention. The Greens have been in government twice, from 1998 to 2005 in coalition with the SPD, and again from 2021 in the Traffic Light Coalition. Their energy policies prioritize wind and solar power, emissions trading, sustainable industry, phasing out nuclear power, and full climate neutrality. They advocate phasing out fossil fuels and combustion engines while modernizing infrastructure to be climate friendly. They also push for global climate action, including support for the Paris Agreement and more strict global targets. Social policies include equal pay for women, LGBTQ rights, eliminating barriers for same-sex families, and abortion decriminalization. Their proposed National Action Plan against discrimination includes dedicated commissioners for anti-discrimination, queer rights, and anti-racism. They propose a €15 minimum wage and closing tax loopholes for the wealthy. The Greens also support digitalizing public services through a Germany app, banning flavored e-cigarettes, regulating sugary drinks, and strengthening animal protection. On immigration, they promote open borders with a welcome culture and a fair European asylum system. In foreign policy, they call for a stronger European Union, increased global cooperation, and a robust defense budget. They position Europe united as a response to America First and seek a common EU migration policy. They also push for the Global Agenda 2030 and its Sustainable Development Goals plus international climate negotiations. The left, Die Linke, is a democratic socialist party formed in 2007 through the merger of the SPD breakaway WASG and the left party PDS, which originated from the Socialist Unity Party of Germany. The party identifies with the legacy of Rosa Luxemburg and Karl Liebknecht, members of the Spartacus League, which eventually became the Communist Party of Germany. These days, the party seeks social, democratic, and peaceful reforms to overcome capitalism. In economic policy, Die Linke advocates for strong regulations of financial markets, reinstating a wealth tax, increasing inheritance tax, and raising the top income tax rate to 53%, while the ultra-rich shall pay 75%. The party wants to close tax loopholes for the wealthy, introduce a financial transaction tax to curb speculation on financial markets, impose a business tax on self-employed people, and raise taxes for large corporations. In the long term, it envisions transferring major industries into public ownership. They also demand a global billionaire tax. The party supports a nationwide rent cap, free daycare, free school lunches, price controls on energy and food, and a minimum social security income of €1,400 per month. It also advocates for the full legalization of cannabis, decriminalization of drug use, and a ban on advertising for tobacco, alcohol, and gambling. Hospitals should also not operate for profit. In foreign policy, Die Linke demands disarmament, a complete ban on arms exports, drastic reductions in military spending, and a purely defensive military. Die Linke is also critical of NATO and advocates for its dissolution in favor of a new collective security system with Russia. Die Linke promotes a welcoming immigration policy, a right to asylum, quotas for people with migrant backgrounds in public administration, and stronger measures against anti-Muslim racism. It supports gender equality and legal recognition of LGBTQ families. Environmentally, it pushes for an immediate nuclear phase-out, full climate neutrality by 2040, and a $200 billion investment in an ecological industry. Wealthy individuals and corporations should bear most climate costs, while low-income households receive financial support. The alliance Sahra Wagenknecht, short BSW, founded in January 2024 by Sahra Wagenknecht after splitting from the Left Party, positions itself as economically left-leaning but socio-culturally conservative. As a peace party, how they see themselves, BSW's foreign policy focuses on détente, opposing military interventions, conscription, nuclear weapons, and criticizing the EU for sovereignty losses and involvement in military aid to Ukraine. Instead, they advocate for peace negotiations over arms deliveries. On energy, they propose lowering prices through pragmatic climate policies, negotiating with Russia for gas, revisiting policies like the combustion engine ban, and modernizing renewable infrastructure without new nuclear plants. Economically, BSW pushes for higher wages, bolstering the middle class, improving pensions, and stimulating domestic demand with investments in infrastructure, education, housing, and research. They also advocate transforming large state-supported companies into innovation foundations. Tax reforms are proposed to ease the load on lower and middle incomes with increased taxes on high earners, reintroduction of wealth taxes, and a financial transaction tax to curb speculation. Socially, they aim for a family-friendly Germany with accessible childcare, enhanced education, free sports for children, and mobile phone bans in schools. They also propose a law inspired by Australia's social media regulations. They also stand for women's autonomy, advocate for abortion decriminalization in early pregnancy, and oppose gender self-determination laws. BSW champions free speech, rejects funded projects that want to influence public discourse, and seeks to stop surveillance while protecting data privacy. They want to preserve cash as a payment option and roll back restrictions on its use. BSW also emphasizes the need for a well-equipped police force and proposes controlled immigration alongside a reform of the European asylum system.